Mr. Patrick Shields. He was a delegate from Harrison County then, but of course it's Floyd County now. Oh, the conversations.
Friends, good evening. Well met. It is a good thing that you should be here to celebrate this eve of the signing, a momentous day for a new state. I am Patrick Henry Shields, named after Governor Patrick Henry of my home state of Virginia. I am a lawyer and a delegate from Harrison County, which includes the very young but growing city of New Albany. But I have a friend here from the far side of the line, Clark, John Kennedy Graham, come out of the wilderness.
Hi, Sir Patrick. It's good to hear your voice.
I
traveled a long way to give you a present.
Oh, truly?
A brass compass.
Oh, my.
So that no matter where our travels take us, we'll be able to find each other.
Treasure that, but I have nothing to offer you in return.
Something simple.
What? Here, a flask.
Make it two.
It's
a deal.
The next round is on me, sir.
Good to see you, sir. Thank you.
Please introduce yourselves to our friends.
My name is John Kennedy Graham, originally from Pennsylvania, and I am a surveyor, and I arrived here in 1804, and we have been busy surveying since then. All the land.
Now, but who are you named?
Well, nobody famous with a name like John Kennedy. That's never going to be famous.
No Irish need apply, I suppose.
I suppose, yes. That's the way to sound.
Indeed. Well, now, but you are a surveyor, and well, I have to tell, when I first came west, I held a large tract of land in Kentucky, but the title proved defective. That land was lost. Now, it seems the territory has resolved that problem. How have they done so, sir?
It's true. It's really sad for the Kentucky peoples because there was no system in Kentucky to register the surveys. And there was no way to know if the land overlapped each other. So consequently, a lot of families lost their land. And a lot of them migrated north across the river to Indiana because Indiana was the very first state, and most all states are patterned after Indiana. We surveyed everything in 1 mile square lines, north and south, east and west. No matter how the land lay, we stayed north and south, east and west, and we numbered all those sections so that everyone would know where their land was, and there would be fewer disputes. They would probably still fight some, but fewer times they wouldn't lose their whole property.
Sir, you know your craft, and I suspect you're an old hand like all of the other delegates here seem to have been in the state for at least 10 years at this point. You and Pennington, I believe, were both here in 1804, right after the Treaty of Vincennes opened up this part of the territory between there and the Clark Grant. Now, that was south of the Trace. Another one of your surveys?
Oh, no, that was William Rector. William Rector was here in 1805, and he was hired by the Continental Congress to survey the Buffalo Trace. And why would a footpath be famous or need to be surveyed, a simple footpath? And it was because it was the road west. They had bought the Louisiana Purchase. The only way to get there was the Ohio River or the Buffalo Trace. So they surveyed that Buffalo Trace, William Rector did, 43 miles of twisting and turning twins. And then he had to mark a line back from Vincennes to the Clark's Grant that was at least a half a mile north of the most northerly turn of the Trace. Quite a feat in those days for the accomplishment.
Well, indeed. Now, we were adventuresome, but not so brave as to move toward quite the Indian boundary of the Trace, but nearly so. You see, my wife and I were the first to settle those silver hills deep in the highlands, far in the knobs. My poor dear thought we were leaving all civilization behind. But as we reached the summit, she looked back like Lot's wife and admired the rippling of the river and listening to the roar of the falls rise up from the valley. Now, it sounds rather poetic, but I'm afraid I must bow to my betters.
Oh, you're referring to my poem?
Oh, indeed.
Can I say the first verse?
Well, yes, please say
See
it.
if I can scratch that. Above the noise and bustle of the town. There, on high Caney Knob, I set me down, and the pleasant beam invites me while I stay, but I have far extended prospects to survey. And from this lofty height I look below, and I see the beautiful Ohio flow, and on its broad, smooth surface can espy wings of commerce. Steamboats are gliding by, while clouds of smoke high rise in the air announce that other boats are drawing near. Steam, wondrous power, what perfection brought Silver Hills early years, and what changes hast thou wrought.
Here, here. Does he not do well? He has more to tell you. Well, I'll slip in a note. Now, here we are, 1811, and the first steamboat has come down the river and nearly scares Judge Aston's wife to death. She thinks it's an Indian attack. Well, who could blame her? It was hardly a month before that I had fought the Indians myself, at Battle of Tiverton, myself and many other brave souls. Indeed. Now, think not that I left my family alone. My man Sam stayed to look after them. Sam had come from Virginia, but mark you, he was no slave. That is why I wrote it into the Constitution that no amendment shall be made to allow slavery in the state of Indiana. But I'm ahead of myself. 1811 was a big year for you too. Now, unless I'm wrong, that was your year at the line?
Yes, I ran the Clark's Grant line at that time, and many other properties in Jeffersonville and Clark cross-country county. Yes, sir.
And then, of course, came the War of 1812. But that didn't seem to stop quite everyone. I believe you had truck the next year with those boys from New York.
Oh, those Scribner boys. Yes, they came down and they bought a 1 mile square, 640-acre section of land that included Caney Knob, Silver Hills. And then below that, we laid out the town of New Albany. They were quite the pair.
Yes, and wasn't it Joel's son, William Augustus, that carried the chain for you?
He was my compass man and chain.
Oh, I mean, I did a fine job, I'm sure he did. Now, that next year, 1814, in a log cabin wilderness, they took planed logs and built a fine clapboard home for Joel and his family. Well, the Scribner house, it's a wonder in the wilderness for such an early time. But just last year, we closed out the war at the Battle of New Orleans, the 8th of January. Now it's time to turn our attentions to the new state. A free state and the Constitution. So if you will join me in a toast. God bless the United States of America. God bless the state of Indiana. Hip hip, huzzah! Hip hip, huzzah! Hip hip, huzzah!